What is going on, my people? What's happening? It is Super Bowl week. That is crazy. Sports Counterpoints podcast, February 3rd, 2026. I can't believe it, man. Another football season over. It wasn't too long ago. We were doing our preview show for the divisions. Now we're at the Super Bowl. Brian and Coop, what's going on, my guys?
Going
Right.
on?
And
Just
back
keep
at it.
doing it.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Football season is always it's like so many months of anticipation and hoping for short season, especially if your team is bad like mine was. Season was over real early,
Right.
so we gonna see though. We got some topics like we were talking about before the show started with all of our teams. So we'll get into some coaching hires, including the Raiders and the Cardinals. The Niners get a new DC. The Vikings fire their GM, so we'll talk about that, and then we'll get to the big game coming up Sunday. We won't have any Pro Bowl content because I can guarantee neither of these guys saw more than 35 seconds of any of that. So shout out to the player selected, but we'll keep it moving.
Oh, the
So
Pro Bowl
let's.
already had it? It already happened?
I was
It
watching part
happened
of it
to
today.
it happened today. I was gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I have some comments on that at a certain segment we get to.
Okay. Yeah. Fair, my brother. I already see where we're going with that. So yeah, let's dive in, man. So like I said, Sports Counterpoints, February 3rd, 2026. Super Bowl is on this Sunday. So before we get to that, let's talk about some coaching hires, man. Starting with the Cardinals, AFC West. I mean, excuse me, NFC West. Coop. They're trying to pull up the rear of the division. Uh, what do you think, man? Is this going to
oh,
finally get them back right to them Kurt
oh,
Warner days?
I'll be quick with this one. He's going to get fired. They don't have a quarterback, and Arizona has been terrible since I was young. So I don't think anything has changed. That's pretty much all I have to say about that hire. I don't know if Brian has more.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's interesting that they're hiring a LaFleur as if that's just kind of a guarantee that it's going to make some that weird magic happen. It's like, well, we got one Harbaugh, the other Harbaugh is going to be good. Well, guess what happened to the old Harbaugh, the first Harbaugh? He got fired. So if I were Matt LaFleur, I would be a little worried about that trend continuing on. No, there's not much to say here. Yeah, of course the coach is going to get fired. There's no coach that doesn't get fired eventually. It's just a matter of whether or not he gets a 3-year deal and gets fired after 2, or a 5-year deal and gets fired after 3. Again, I've always said one of the best paying jobs is, or one of the best jobs, period, is a fired pro coach. So, it's going to happen. There's nothing about this team that says that they're close,
So
and they're
far,
playing
yeah.
in a ridiculously hard division. Both the GM and the coach for the Rams just got an extension, and they are probably the best team of GM and coach in football. The way the Rams manipulate the cap is perfect. It looks like they've sold their future to buy their present. And then 2 years after they go to a Super Bowl, here they are in the NFC Championship game competing to go back again. Up there in San Francisco, if it wasn't for electromagnetic pulses and stuff, they have a very talented team, and they have a GM who really understands the cap, and they have a coach who understands some extent of coaching. They don't have a great quarterback, but not
Here it
everybody can be
goes.
perfect. But anyways,
Okay.
the point is that LaFleur is a relatively new coach going to a team without a quarterback in a division that is just chock full of talent, by far the best division this year, with somebody who's competing for a Super Bowl later this week. There's literally no chance that this is successful for him. All of that, the good news for him is he's going to make a lot of money, and he's going to be able to say, "Hey, I went to the wrong team at the wrong time in the wrong division and that was the reason why this went sideways," and probably get another coaching job some point down the line.
Yeah, actually, to your point, the entire NFC West has been in the NFC Championship in the last like 2 years,
3
three
years.
years.
Well,
So,
except Arizona, yeah.
well, I'm saying
Yeah, that's
beyond the team he
Right,
went to, right? So I
right,
will
right.
say I think one I've
tough
seen you
division.
and you guys have seen they do the player polls on best team for facility and meals and all that. And Arizona's consistently last. I will say it appears that they are one of those teams that when they have a coach or quarterback or whatever, they kind of ride with it because it's almost like they know they're not a team that's like, oh, it didn't work in 1 year, let's fire a guy. They be given like what's his name? The last coach, Glennon, whatever. He was there
Yeah.
for a little while. What's his name before that was
3 years.
Right. And so they'll let you get through a contract like, wait, maybe they don't want to pay another coach, but so he may get it, but to your point, I don't know. It's be a lot to turn around. But I guess in that case, for Arizona to succeed, what do you need to win? Like six
A
games?
quarterback.
You know what I mean? But I'm
Yeah,
saying
if
like
you
from
look,
a
if you're Mike LaFleur and you have a 3-year deal, I don't know. They didn't say exactly what his deal is, but typically these first
I'd
time
guess, yeah.
coaches get 3-year deals. I'd rather get fired after 2 than have to play out 3 and not get renewed. Like then I got to do all the
Yeah.
work, not get the money, and it's not going to make them any better. But anyways,
Yeah, so we gonna see. So interesting enough. Speaking of, go ahead, Coop.
His contract, I'm just looking up right now, is 5 years. Usually they're 5 years. It's a 5 year. But Arizona doesn't
Yeah.
pay money for coaches like Tennessee, so I'm sure he's not making that much money. Tennessee doesn't pay coaches either a lot of money, and you get
he's
what you pay
he's,
for.
he's going to
So
make plenty. Given I doubt he was making
Yeah.
a couple $100,000,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
a
yeah,
$1 million max, but a couple $100,000
7 to
doing
10
this.
million. Yeah.
yeah. He's
Interesting
getting
enough.
five in
Yeah.
five
So
years. Yep. All right.
speaking of bad teams getting a new coach, my team, Raiders, man, looks like, for all intents and purposes, you got to wait till after the Super Bowl. But Klint Kubiak to the Raiders. What are y'all thoughts on that one?
Go first, Brian.
Look, this has been something that's been kind of talked about and is a foregone conclusion. It has not actually happened yet because Klint Kubiak is coaching for Seattle. I think there's some things to be gleaned from this. One of which is I think you guys probably might have Geno again next year. The reason for that being that obviously there's a certain synchronicity to bringing in a coach who's familiar with Geno to a team that he currently is on. I don't know if you guys like that or not like that, but it seems like something that must have been in their thought process when hiring a Seattle coach to come to the Raiders. Um, problem here has, in my opinion, the problem here has not been 90% coach. And because it's not 90% coach and it's the GM and the team and the organization and their unwillingness to spend real time and energy to build a team as opposed to just expecting one to pop up out of the ground, I don't think that he's going to have any more success there than anybody else. I do think that by virtue of being like the fifth coach that they've got to pay, he has a better chance of having some level of longevity because at a certain point in time, I know that people believe that they're super profitable and all that kind of stuff, and they are one of the more valuable teams right now because of the stadium. Like they're not going to keep paying coaches forever, so this might buy him time because they're going to get to a point where they're like, I'm not paying a seventh coach or a sixth coach or an eighth coach or whatever it is. But either way, in short, I do not think that there's a long future of success for the Raiders. But I do wish that Klint Kubiak could find a way to make something out of that team. He is a smart guy. He is a good coach. Raiders just don't seem like the organization that good things can happen to right now.
Cool.
This hire makes a lot of sense. If you're going to have a young quarterback on the roster, it looks like all signs point to Mendoza. You need an offensive coach because too many times these defensive coaches have young quarterbacks, and it rarely, if all, doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't end as bad as Brian Flores and Tua, but it rarely works. Now, of course, it won't work if Mendoza doesn't hit, but I understand the move. Kubiak is like he's like Shanahan and like Kirk Cinetti, the coach of Indiana. They all operate a run first offense, so the quarterback should not throw, more than 28 times a game. I mean, Mendoza wasn't slinging it at Indiana as people might try to suggest he was, but he really wasn't. It was a run first offense. All he has to do is just be functional. Klint Kubiak, his dad was Gary Kubiak, and Gary Kubiak was the coach of the Houston Texans at one point when Kyle Shanahan was the OC. Andre Johnson was the wide receiver. Well, that team, one of those teams that year had Arian Foster as running back, and they were number one in the NFL in rushing offense, and Matt Schaub was the quarterback. So the quarterback does not have to be
Shops.
ultra talented. All he has to do is just be, functional. Um, my last point I'll make is I think this hire makes sense because the Raiders need a coach that's thinking about long term. Because Pete Carroll wasn't. He was 75. He's thinking game to game. You need somebody to kind of grow with the team, and Kubiak can definitely do it because he's young enough. Having said that, I think the Raiders really should entertain trying to trade Max Crosby. Not saying they have to, but see what they can get for him because you got lesser players like Sauce Gardner, who's not as good as Max Crosby, going for two number one draft picks. So I would say do Crosby a solid and put him on a team where he can make the playoffs because the Raiders aren't making the playoffs next season. And with KC and Denver and the Chargers in that division, the Raiders aren't winning the division anytime soon. So I would see what I can get from Max Crosby and sort of rebuild that roster. But the hire makes sense. I don't have nothing bad to say about it. Glenn, what you think about it?
Go ahead, B.
One thing before, I have a question for you. Do you think that
Mhm.
they keep Gino on the roster as the veteran guy as well as somebody to
Yeah.
know the system and work with the system with Mendoza?
Well, let me tell you what I would do. What I would do is, yes, I would have Gio on the roster because I don't think Mendoza is ready to play in the NFL right now. I mean, I know a lot of people do. I don't. I would put Gino in there. I would let Mendoza wait a year. Now, I don't think it's going to take that long. I think he will play at the end of the year because fans always want to see the backup quarterback once things go wrong. But yeah, I would have Gino come back. Definitely,
Yeah, makes
it'd be a
sense to me
question in my
too.
mind.
I don't think Gino was on the team when Kubiak was there though, because I think Kubiak got here last year. I was just looking at it
No,
right now.
Gino, no, no, yeah, they took him out. Yeah, he was gone.
Yeah, so I don't
Yeah,
think
Gino
they,
was gone.
But
but
it's
they
the
did.
offense I'm talking about.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
they were running that same offense when he was there because Kubiak wasn't there.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
concept of them being in the same place, yeah. I mean, I like that the fact that the team's trying things. You're paying a bunch of coaches, but I like that. If it's not working, don't sit there for 5 years waiting for it to work. Um, Coop said that about AP and some other guys too. You said it about Pete. You're like, I don't think this works. So do you need to take 2 or 3 years to see it? Um, so we'll see. I like they're trying stuff. I like a young offensive mind. I think they tried last year to go with what the other teams in our division were doing, right? We all had veteran coaches who'd won a Super Bowl. So you try and do that. Okay, maybe that's not it. The other thing that is happening right now in the NFL is young offensive minds. I mean, it always kind of cycles like that, it feels like, but right now that's definitely what it is. So, I mean, we'll see. Hey man, you know me on this Madden hype. I'm excited. Give me Kubiak, give me Mendoza, and let me cook. You know what I mean? I don't know what's gonna happen in real life, but we'll see. So I like that they're trying stuff, man. It's at least they give us some hope each year, no matter how they do it. So we'll see how it plays. But yeah, that's cool. So Coop, man, your team, you guys get a new DC also. You grab Raheem Morris. What's your thoughts on Raheem Morris as your new DC?
Yeah, I figured this would be the move due to familiarity. He's tight with Shanahan and he's tight with Sean McVay. They're all, rolling the same circles. If my choices were Gus Bradley and Raheem Morris, I'm definitely taking Raheem Morris. I just don't think Gus Bradley is all that good. The
Yeah, we
decent
had him
guy to
too.
have on the staff. Yeah, decent guy to have on the staff, and he just actually followed Robert Saleh to Tennessee after Raheem Morris got the job. So, he won't be unemployed. But Raheem Morris's run defenses are usually pretty good, and so I like that as well. But also one thing I was critical of when Robert Saleh got hired last year was I want to get away from that Seattle, but defense that said that cover one defense that Seattle runs that Robert Saleh uses and a couple other coaches uses because it's only won one Super Bowl in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. And that's when Seattle did that one time. It's very hard to replicate something like that because most teams just don't have the players on
Yeah.
defense that team had. And so the fact that we have Raheem Morris, we're kind of going to get away from that cover one defense. And Raheem Morris is, I guess he's known from what I read from being to be very, I guess, adaptable on defense, very flexible. He doesn't have to run the same type of defense all the time or every season or whatever. He adjusts to his players. So that's a good thing to hear. Uh, Results, I don't know. We have to see, but I do like the hire. Raheem Morris, I just don't think he's a head coach, but I do think he's a very good defensive, definitely above average defense coordinator. So I'm happy that he's on the staff, and I'm sure he's going to try to use that job to get another head coaching job like everybody else does. And if he does, more power to him. But I like the hire.
What's that? B?
I think it makes a lot of sense, and for all the reasons that Jason just laid out, I don't think I need to repeat them, especially not for an assistant coach. But this was one of those kind of it was an obvious choice and going in an obvious direction. Jason, you called it I think weeks ago that this would be the likely outcome. So no big surprise there, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Fair enough. And then B, your team. So I don't know the
Man,
brother's name. They fired the GM. We talked about kind of
Wasn't Adolfo?
yep, some of the cap, some of the cap issues that the team had, but the defensive drafts have been good. A lot of the players on the team have been good. Get Addison, get some others, but it doesn't sound like it's enough, man. What are your thoughts on that?
So I was one of the people who was like, look, I thought his draft picks were doing all right. and that this probably was more about the cap disaster that the Vikings are right now. I think they're so they have to clear something like $40 million in cap space to get underneath the hard cap before the beginning of next season. And then after he got fired, it was a floodgate of crap about him and how bad a job he was doing. So one thing had it so that he was no longer using any type of scouting system to determine what players he was drafting. He was simply using a subscription he had to PFF. Like, okay, wow, and
fantasy football in real life.
And
I didn't know
then
that. Go ahead.
All stuff. Like I said, it's been a floodgate since he got fired. Then they went through the list of players that he has drafted. Not a single one of them has made a Pro Bowl. Not a single one of them has had enough quality starts, and that includes Addison. But Addison had some other reasons for not making the number. And not one of them has become a considered a top player. Again, Addison's probably pretty close because he had some other things going on. So I think his top pick was a lineman. His second best pick was Addison, and then almost all the rest of them bombed. And I hadn't really thought about it because there were some bright spots here and there. There's like 4 or 5 players that have played pretty well, have been perennial starters, been part of the team. And so you forget that there was about 25 other picks between all the different rounds that they accumulated, and he just missed on all of them. So apparently these rumors started circulating a month or two ago, and with one of the owners aides saying that the owners were saying that he's basically was trying to turn because he came from Cleveland, that he was trying to turn the Vikings into Cleveland.
Oh, damn.
And that was the nail in the coffin. And once people said, oh, he's just trying to turn it into Cleveland, they were like, okay, we got to get him out of here. So I had a pretty decent impression of him for the entire time that he was there. And then it was just floodgates going there. The worst part, or not the worst part, the most interesting part was all the stories that came out about how Darnold ended up in Seattle. So apparently the Vikings ultimately wanted to keep Darnold and wanted to trade JJ to the Raiders.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And they offered basically the exact same deal that Seattle offered, but they didn't tell Darnold that he would be the guy. They just told him that he was offered a contract. Darnold was apparently under the impression that if he came back to the Vikings, he would have JJ breathing down his neck. So he chose to go to Seattle because they said, you'll be the guy. No rookie breathing down your neck. They forgot or failed to mention to him that the reason that they were trying to re-sign him was that they were planning on trying to ship out JJ, or they were trying to keep it a secret. So apparently it was Kwesi Adolfo who blew that deal up, and then immediately tried to re-sign Daniels with the same understanding. Hey, you'll be the guy and blah, blah, blah. But they forgot to tell him as well. He went to Indianapolis because he was also told that he would be able to be the guy. So all because of how they handled the situation, and they wanted to be secretive about their plans to try and trade JJ, they ended up basically losing Darnold and Daniels on equivalent deals. Yeah. Sorry, Daniel Jones. On equivalent deals in Indianapolis and Seattle. That's a pretty bad mistake, because he ended up fired, and Darnold's ended up going to the Super Bowl.
And Daniel Jones was playing solid behind that line before he got hurt. So both took y'all to a playoff too. Lost first round. Coop.
Look, the Vikings were praised for this hiring out of the box thinking, but when you look at his run as GM, it was historically bad and easy to justify him getting fired just based off his draft record alone. He was. I didn't do a deep dive on this, to be honest with you, until he got fired, and this is what I uncovered. He's a Wall Street guy, so he's used to acquiring assets. Well, in football, those assets are people, and he clearly struggled with acquiring good people, like Brian alluded to. His first 3 years as GM, 2022, 2023, and 2024, he drafted 22 players that made a combined 153 starts, which is the second lowest in the NFL over that period of time. And if you add the 2025 draft, the players he's drafted has only made 12% of the starts, which is very, very bad. The average of the other teams in this division, Chicago, Green Bay, and Detroit, is 33%. So he's damn near 3 times worse than the other teams in this division as far as drafting capable players that can start. And then I read this in the middle of the season, but I never brought it up on the podcast that there was tension within the Vikings. But I didn't pay it no mind. I just figured, they're a decent team. They'll probably figure it out and get it together. But now I know what the tension was. It was between the coaches and the GM. I don't know. I'm sure, Brian, you heard about this, how the GM took 2 weeks off during training camp for paternity leave, which was just mind-boggling to me because I guess he still thinks he's working on Wall Street. You just can't put your out of office on doing training camp. That's the time you got to be there every day. Sean McVay had a baby on Sunday, still coached back in the Rams facility on Monday. But he was out of sight, out of mind for 2 weeks during training camp when he was supposed to be there. And I'm sure Kevin O'Connell wasn't happy about that. And I read that Brian Flores wasn't a big fan of him either. Training camp is when you evaluate players, see where you messed up, see you might acquire, talk to the coach, see what's going on. And his out of office is on out of sight, out of mind. So I think I'm not saying that's the reason he got fired, but if you're not good at your job, you're bad at drafting, you don't produce results, and your out of office is on during the most important time of the season, you got to go. And then JJ McCarthy, I know Brian, that's the first I've ever heard about the Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones thing. But JJ
And
McCarthy is in like he's in like in a Trey Lance situation right now, meaning publicly they support him, but behind closed doors, they don't have any confidence in him. It was the same with Trey Lance on the 49ers. George Kittle and all these guys would do interviews talking about how they like him, and they do actually like him, but he's just not good in football. And that's why they feel the same way about JJ McCarthy. So that quarterback situation is kind of something. If Quasey actually messed up the quarterback situation, this is what you end up with, a guy that nobody has confidence in. I mean, and that's really bad. So yeah, I didn't do a deep dive in this until he got fired. The stuff that Brian just said, stuff I uncovered is just crazy. But I think he definitely needed to go, and I don't know who the Vikings are going to get for GM now.
Yeah.
yeah, I hope they can hire someone good who can really evaluate talent because they have coaches, really good coaches. They just need talent. And I'm looking at the draft picks and they have them all ranked. And the only 4 who have had success are Will Reichert, the kicker, who's been great, Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison, and Dallas Turner. And then after that, it goes from Dallas Turner to Donovan Jackson, Jay Ward, who has some starts, but people you haven't heard of. And at the very, very bottom was the big pick when they took Louis Cine, who was supposed to be
the safety from Georgia, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he is considered the worst draft pick of like the last 4 drafts. I didn't even know that. That's rough.
Wow, I didn't know y'all drafted him. Okay. Wow.
That's tough.
Yeah, I didn't know y'all were 40 million over the cap either. I didn't know that either. I didn't really read that either.
Yeah, we're like second to the bottom. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Crazy. Word. All right. So that's your coaches. We're going to talk about that. Let's get to it.
40 million. The Chiefs are the only one worth at 54 million over.
Damn. Wow. Okay.
That don't hurt. That don't hurt my feelings.
Right.
Don't hurt my feelings at all. All right.
On the other side, the Titans have 104 million of cap space left. You need a deal. You want some money? Go there.
I think we got like 90. So
91. You guys are second.
Yeah. So all right, man. Well, let's do it, man. It's full season's up. We're at the big game, man. Super Bowl. Let me get your thoughts on the matchup. Patriots Seahawks out here in the Bay. What are your thoughts on the matchup? And then we'll get into kind of the lines and what you think about betting line, and also let's do some over under today. Coop, what you got?
Well, Seattle definitely is the favorite. Should be the favorite in this game. I think they're slightly probably overvalued based on how they played the last couple of weeks against 2 division opponents that they have familiarity with. They won't have that much familiarity with New England, but I still think overall Seattle is the better team. New England, I definitely think they can compete. I actually think they can actually win this game. They have the talent to win this game, but I think it'll be more for the coaching staff for them to draw up a good game plan. I was listening to Sean Payton. He could have been my hogwash, but I was listening to Sean Payton they asked him a question why he went for it on 4th and 1 during that situation. He said because they got the look that he was looking for. but then once they snap the ball, they disguise and change their look. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's what they do in the playoffs. That's why it's called the playoffs. You're playing against teams that make adjustments and better defensive coaches usually. So what I'm thinking is I think New England can keep this close by trying to confuse Sam Darnold. I don't think he will have the kind of game he had against the Rams due to unfamiliarity with New England and how they play. But Vrabel came from playing. He played for Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick used a lot of disguises. So I expect Vrabel to do the same thing to actually give New England a chance to win. Not saying they will, but a chance to win. So I think people are kind of selling New England short on this one. Brian, what you think about these two teams?
Yeah, so I think that's really interesting that you mentioned about them selling New England short, because one of the things that I've been seeing is this growing sentiment that the history supports that New England's going to win. No team in the last like 20 years that's had to travel east to a Super Bowl has won. And even though it's like by only a few miles on the vertical, Seattle has to travel east to Santa Clara, while teams that travel west have consistently won. There's all types of like these little facts that are going over, the logos and this and that and the other thing. But no, people always forget that for a period of time, Drake May was actually in an MVP conversation because of their winning record and because the dude had only thrown 8 interceptions. And I think that's a really big deal, because the thing that has really set Seattle apart is having the league's best defense and having a defense that can create turnovers. And if Drake May can find a way to can stay consistent and not throw an interception, the whole Seattle team is set up on get turnovers, give Darnold opportunities. He plays well with those opportunities, and doesn't have to create from nothing. He does well in those opportunities, and they score. If New England can find a way to minimize the mistakes, they, like you said, they have a chance. That being said, end to end, this is an incredibly talented Seahawks team. I've been pretty consistent that I think they're the most talented end-to-end team this year. The best season. I think it's like the third week I kind of jumped on that bandwagon and said, that they're probably the best team in the NFL. For a while, it was either them or the Rams, and that's kind of what we thought where it ended up last week. They have a quarterback that's got over 4,000 yards. They got one of the best running backs in running backs from running back committee by yards, with Walker over 1,000. Charbonnet was leading the team in touchdowns. JSN at 1,800 yards is beyond impressive. He's probably the best performing wide receiver this year. Not saying he's the best wide receiver for all the people who want to say that I didn't say it was Justin Jefferson. He still is. They've got just an amazing amount of talent all over this team. So I do give them the edge. I do think that they're going to win. I will not be surprised if there is an upset. I will be disappointed if it's not a good game. But yeah, I have the Seahawks.
Okay. Well, I'll make my prediction after you do this one. So what do you got on the total? The total went down to it's 45.5 now. Who do you like on the total, over or under?
And for people
Under.
watching this, they're saying that the combined score of the two teams will be above or below that point total, which is 45.
45.5. Yeah.
45.5.
Under.
Please.
Under. Yeah. So I'll start with the total first. I bet it came out at 48. The line came out Seattle minus 3.5, 48. I got it at 47. So I got the under 47. So I definitely think it's going to go under 45 as well. As far as the game is concerned, I'm going to go with New England, and I think that Sam Darnold is going to throw at least one interception in this game. I think New England is tired. They're going to come in very motivated. People talking about their schedule, how they probably shouldn't be here. How Seattle's going to dominate them. It kind of got that Miami versus Indiana vibe to it, where people think they're going to get blown out. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to take Seattle not only to cover the spread, but Seattle to actually. I'm not New England not only to cover the spread, but also to win the game as well.
And the spread right now I have is minus 4.5 Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it opened at 3.5 and has gone up a point.
Yep.
Yeah. B, what do you got on the spread?
I will take Seattle to win by 4.5 points or more. I just don't think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I think people are expecting a high-scoring game because of last week. But those are, as Jason mentioned, two teams that are very familiar with each other, two offenses that were playing their absolute best, and two quarterbacks that were in a zone. It's been 2 weeks. That zone's gone. This is a whole different ball game, and I just think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring, grind it out, and somebody wins by 4 points, 5 points, 6 points, 7 points, kind of thing. Single digits for sure.
Yeah, especially in the first quarter. First quarter Super Bowls, they always come out conservative. Nobody wants to make that big mistake. It's usually always 0-0 up in the first quarter. Just a tidbit, underdogs in the Super Bowl last 24 are 18-6. New England is the underdog. People usually go with the favorites in Super Bowls when they bet. Underdogs have covered 18 of the last 24. But I think the line is right. It wouldn't surprise me if Seattle won. It wouldn't surprise me if Seattle's defense just overwhelmed New England. But I just think New England's going to keep it close and we'll have a good game.
So I made sure I didn't do a bet, but I did a pool, and I made sure to get it in at the opening line because I honestly believe that it will be a 4-point game with a little bit like a touchdown. The 4.5 is tough, but I'm just going to stick with it because I do think that this is going to be like a 4-point game. That 3.5 is a perfect line, in my opinion. Seattle.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there's also, for me, an element of the kind of playoff letdown that young teams often have first. You make it like, the Patriots being this their first time out there, the new coach in Vrabel with the team, not a new coach. But often those teams get there and they kind of have that initial disappointment, and you can sometimes make it back or build on that in the future. I wouldn't say that, Mike Macdonald and the Seahawks have it, but Darnold's had, those experiences losing in the playoffs, et cetera. So curious to see how that plays out. I definitely think defenses are gonna be huge in this game. Darnold, as much as we could say, he played a pretty damn good game against the Rams, and
Best
also,
game ever.
yeah, right when he had to. And I think, I actually think playing against somebody that you're more familiar with actually may go the other way, where they're gonna have a better concept of your tendencies than the Patriots are. So we'll see, but they got Josh McDaniels over there, who's won a bunch of Super Bowls, knows how to call these games. Vrabel's a very good coach. Their defense has been overperforming to some degree. So, like you said, Coop, I wouldn't be surprised that they have a chance to win this game for sure. I don't think it's it's not
Seattle
completely
definitely
lost
should be the
by any
favorite.
mind. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
agree.
Seattle definitely should be the favorite in this game. Yeah, definitely. But I don't
Yeah.
think I think people are selling out New England as if they can't win this game, and I can see a scenario where they can win.
Oh yeah. Keep it close. And then if Drake May plays because we were saying this all year, we've actually watched a bunch of their games together, the three of us, and Drake May can throw the ball, man. It's gonna be perfect weather to do it in. Super nice in the Bay, right? I think it was like 70 degrees today. It's gonna be a super nice condition. So
31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions is really, really good.
yeah, that's not bad at all.
You know what? Real quick before we close out, Brian, let me ask you this question. I know I was a Drake May guy coming out when him and Caleb was coming out. But here's the thing, though. After watching these guys now again, I don't know, man. I think Caleb probably is a little bit better than Drake May. Seriously, not saying Drake May is bad, but Caleb, I don't know. What do you think? Who would you rather have right now at this moment?
Look, there was never a question about Caleb's talent. My question of him was whether or not, one, he could do it in Chicago, because Chicago's where quarterbacks going to die, and two, if he really had that dog in him to go and do what it took to be great as a professional. And so far, he has shown the talent. I don't know if he's shown that he's got that dog in him, but you cannot knock the upside on Caleb is certainly higher. The current performance of Drake May is better.
Yeah.
But if you were looking at upside, if I needed to plan the career for someone, I would say that Caleb has the ability to have a career that parallels some of the other great quarterbacks at his highest. He hasn't fulfilled that. If I wanted somebody who's going to be pretty darn consistently good, but probably not great, I think that's Drake May.
I agree. Yep. I agree.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, man. So we got the game coming up. Thanks everybody for listening. You listened to us for another football season. This whole show started with us talking football and saying we should make it a podcast. And this has kind of been the basis of our show for what did I say, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. I think we started
6-7
2019.
years.
So
Yeah.
yeah, appreciate you guys as always for doing the show, man. Always a good chance to catch up with y'all and talk sports. Let's wrap this one up. So let's start with hogwash. I think B, you've already alluded to you had one, man. This is your segment. What you got?
Yeah. So most of the people who are watching this will probably be at least a day after, did not know that the Pro Bowl happened, and certainly didn't know that it happened on a Tuesday. So for the first time, the NFL is a bunch of hogwash for basically turning this game into a complete and utter joke. It was already a joke when they had to go so far down the list of quarterbacks that Shador made the Pro Bowl. I mean, that was already a joke.
It's
Then
yeah,
it's on
it's
a
it's been going that route a long time.
yeah. Then it's on a Tuesday. As I understand it, one of the most interesting things is that because it was a flag football game, you got to have people trying all different types of positions, and so the left tackle actually caught a 1-yard touchdown.
Mm.
The skill stuff might be interesting, but the game itself is a complete and utter joke at this point.
It's fair. Cool.
Mine is the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, that's
Much
it.
like
That's it. Go ahead.
much like when Hugh Jackson was interviewing to be their coach, I read a couple weeks ago that the Cleveland Browns couldn't get any of their top candidates to interview for the head coaching position. It was the same when Hugh Jackson was coach. They couldn't get the top 8 people they wanted, so they kind of had to settle for him. And I'm saying it's because you're the Cleveland Browns and your quarterbacks are Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. So it's not like you're going to instill any hope and any good coach to want to come coach them. But the reason they're hogwash is because they want their candidates to do an essay, a personality test, and homework to be their head to before they interview to be their head coach of that team. And this is why they ended up with Todd Monken. Todd Monken, Jim Harbaugh wasn't even thinking about bringing Todd Monken with him when he took the New York Giants job. So I'm saying right now, Todd Monken, he probably won't be there 4 years. I mean, this is not going to work. He's going to get
It's a
fired
long
and they're going
time.
to bring someone else in. But, this is the Cleveland Browns,
And
man. They just keep doing Cleveland Brown things.
hey, his name ain't Mike Jones, but the first thing I thought was who?
Right? Right. Thank you. Right?
uh,
That's my hogwash.
I'm gonna go with oh dang, I just had it and I just forgot it. Oh, James Harden. Um,
Mm,
The trade.
just
wants to
another
leave.
trade, man. I just sent you guys something. It's a commentator talking about it, which was pretty funny. But basically, to the point. I mean, it's what is this, like 12 teams, and Harden can hoop. So this isn't about his talent. He obviously could score. He changed the game in a lot of ways as far as they had to adjust the rules because he was getting that up and through foul call, etc. But I mean, bro, I get it. Get your money by all means. I want everybody, get paid. Young man, get paid. It's just like at some point, bro, how many teams we gonna play on, bro? Like it can't
Man.
be them.
I do not like Harden. We all know that, but I actually think the trade made a lot of sense for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who actually have a team that they think can go someplace. I don't know.
So you get James
He
Harden.
can put in points. Hmm?
Not in big games, unfortunately.
No,
Oh,
no, no,
no,
no.
no, no,
Well,
no.
So
He gonna shut it down the playoffs. Yeah, he'll shut
yeah,
it down
and
there.
respect, bro. Like, and I again, if man, would I take some of the stories I've heard about James Harden? I would not mind being JH for during the season at times in the
Well,
off season. But come on, man.
we know in his younger days he was known for shutting down the club. So he ain't doing that in Cleveland because he ain't got no clubs to go to.
Hey,
So
they
he'll
was
be
they was
all
saying
good.
out here he said I'm gonna go spend my time in Vegas, and he would just dip. So he may just go to Miami.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Because that's
So
where, yeah, yeah. During the finals, he
so
was shutting down the clubs. But yeah, that's why
hey,
he
do you
got some
think?
stories about him.
Hey man, do you think? By all means, I'm just like, all right, bro. How many teams you gonna play on? Game ball. Coop, what you got?
To try, I'm gonna go basketball. I'm gonna give it to the Detroit Pistons. They're 5.5 games up in the Eastern Conference for the #1 seed. This was a team I've always just railed on for years because they get all these high draft picks and they end up in the lottery with the top 4 pick every single year. Last year they got a little better. This year, they're balling out. Not saying they're going to win the title or that they're OKC, but the fact that they're taking every game seriously, they're sitting at 37-12 right now, having their best season in years. So I dogged them so much. Got to give them props when they finally when they're doing playing well. So I'm giving to Detroit Pistons.
Respect. Yeah, they've been coming up too. Shout out. They got Shaka Smart, don't they, as their coach?
Oh, I don't know who they have. No, it's like Jimmy Bickerstaff or somebody like that. Bernie
Okay.
Bickerstaff's son, I think. Yeah.
I
yeah.
thought.
Uh,
All right, go ahead, B.
Yeah, I didn't think it was Shaka. Anyways, I was going to actually do basketball as well, but this is going to be the Timberwolves, who
Bigger staff.
have
Yeah.
had a huge stretch of serious wins, including a very, very convincing win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just seem to have their number. I mean, the one team that the Thunder can't seem to beat right now when they're playing outstanding is the Timberwolves. Which could be very interesting when playoffs come. But congratulations to them, hats off to them, and they get my game ball.
There, hats off is going to tie into mine. This could have been a hogwash, but I'm going for a game ball for boxer Jarrell Miller. I don't know if y'all saw this, but bro's in a boxing match. Coop, I don't know if you saw this. He's in a boxing match, bro. He has a man unit on, so he's got it glued down, got his hair in. Bro got caught, and
Oh, I saw that.
got his whole wig pushed back.
I
Literally.
did. I saw that.
Off the top.
All right, so
straight up
that
pop.
okay, that I was almost hogwashing it. The reason I'm going game balls, I saw him on I think their show's Nightcap with Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp, and they were asking him about it, and his response was gold. I sent it to y'all, but he was basically like, "Hey man, I went in, they said they were going to tape it and double glue it. I thought we were going to be okay. I took the punch and I started feeling AC." And he said, I knew something was wrong when I got to the corner and my coach is telling me what to do. And he's looking up and looking down and looking up and he's stuttering while he's talking to me. So this guy said, he was like, so I knew he was like, I don't know about y'all, but my boys are going to clown. And everything he said, I was like 100%. So he's like, I at least had to make sure I won because they were going to definitely get on me for the hair. So how he handled it, the interview, threw it in the crowd, said it was his mom's shampoo, like just fantastic marketing. And I got to give it up to him because that was super funny. So
way to turn into the swerve.
100%, bro. It was hilarious to me. So he got that. Minute to win it. Everybody enjoy the game. Stay safe. There's y'all know there's a lot of crazy ish going on. So yeah, stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Coop.
That's it. I ain't got nothing. Just same thing. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the Super Bowl. B.
Yeah, I don't even know what to point to because there's so many distractions. It's like we started doing all this immigration stuff to take away from the Epstein files, and then we got so bad on the immigration side that now they're releasing Epstein files to take away from the immigration. I mean, it is so far beyond reality that if you were to, read the National Lampoon or whatever it is that your satire news thing, you would no longer be able to tell the difference. It is just that insane. Today, a federal DOJ attorney asked the judge to be put in jail overnight because she was just so tired and couldn't keep up with all the lawsuits the government is getting. It said, hold me in contempt, please, because then I can get 24 hours of sleep. It is. We are living in an alternate reality. Whoever's living in the first reality, send us a postcard because I want to know what it's like. But it is beyond insane what's going on right now. And my heart goes out to, and I support in any way I can, all of the people, the students who are doing a walkout tomorrow in LAUSD, who did a workout last week and because of to support Minnesota. All of the people who are doing that. I support you from the distance, but it's admirable what you all are doing, and I wish I could do more.
That's us, man. Sports Counterpoints, February 3rd, 2026. We'll catch y'all next time. Enjoy the game. Peace.